folks, welcome to the channel. I apologize for not being on. It has been several weeks since I did a check-in, so might as well just grab our glasses and get right to it. And I just noticed that my light is off. Let me see if that helps a little bit. All right, so in June I had a couple of things going on. I went to the beach, and then I also had a business trip to Las Vegas. It just was really busy, and when I was here during the week I was just working on work stuff, and then I was doing stuff on the weekends. I just haven't had a chance to check in. So let's go into June 1st and just kind of talk about how that played out. And it was actually, I paid off all the debt. I was super excited. There was plenty of money at the end, and I was actually able to pay off the debt plus everything I had paid when I went on that business trip. So any of the money that I get reimbursed for, which I expect will show up tomorrow, or excuse me, not tomorrow, but next maybe Monday or possibly Tuesday, that will be accounted for, as I will show you when we get into July, because some things have happened. So June ended up great, ending up. There was nothing unusual that happened in June. The budget breakdown ended up being perfect. As I mentioned, I was able to pay off all of the debt. So here's the budget breakdown. Things went sort of according to plan. There's always like a difference between what I figure out in here versus what's in here, but it's not that big of a deal. I just assume it's something I've transposed, or something I've written down incorrectly, or just missed in the overall adding up. And here's my U.S. bank. I ended up the month at $148.40, which is actually less than what I actually had charged for this business trip. So that was excellent. In addition to that, I used my debit card for all of the stuff that I did while I was there. I was a little worried I was going to go over the per diem, because it is a little bit expensive to be in Las Vegas. But as it turns out, the amount that I'm going to receive back, and let's go over here, I can show you that. And they just give you a per diem regardless. They don't, you can, if you want, submit the tickets, but they just give you a per diem. So I spent $848, but they're going to reimburse $878. So I did buy some gifting stuff while I was over there, so I just sort of think it's sort of accounting for that. I did have something that had a tip, but it wasn't added in here. But in the end, again, I just transferred over what was appropriate at the end of the month into July. So I was really stoked about this. But within 2 days, I started having problems, which leads us into July. So this is my 3 steps forward, and now July will be my 2 steps back. So let's just go in here and take a look at what's going on. So I had started to fill in the calendar, and I had some serious electrical issues, and I have 2 boxes downstairs. People, this house is from the early 70s. People have just been adding into the boxes downstairs for the electrical, and they've been overloading them, and they started sparking, and they actually, after they removed them, they were on fire at some point. So it was a very serious issue. I took it seriously. When things started to actually cascade, I wasn't able to use parts of my home for days because it was causing the boxes to trip and actually spark. So we got an emergency visit in here, and then because it was considered an emergency, they came out the very next day, and then they finished up the work on Friday, which was yesterday. When all of this started, I had hoped that it was going to be around $5,000, but due to the extent of the problem, it ended up being almost $8,000. So all that said is my credit card debt is back up. So this is life. This is home ownership. It's very funny to me that just a couple days after I finished paying off the debt from what happened in the basement to mitigate the water coming in, that this happened. But when I moved in, I knew that there were some electrical issues. You could just tell when you look at the boxes downstairs and you say, wow, those look rough. Not to mention a lot of the light switches did not work correctly. Just generally you can tell, and I knew that it's eventually someday I might have to address it, and well, someday is now. So here I am dealing with this, and I will get into how I'm going to handle this in just a moment. I just want to go over quickly. July is going to look like a normal month, just generally, other than what I have been dealing with the electrician coming in. The normal bills that I have due with the electric, the phone, season tickets, the Roth, YMCA, all the utilities. I do have a dentist appointment, but I am pretty sure that my health insurance covers this particular visit. I do have an issue with one of my teeth that it's the same issue I had the last time I went, and they said, we'll just keep an eye on it. And I have a feeling they're going to have to do something with it because it's continued to give me a problem. So, I'll just see how that visit goes and whether or not I'll have to have additional expenses for the dentist here in July as well. Here's where I kind of guessed. Originally, I guessed like 7, and then I thought, no, it really should only be about 5. But I guess my original guess was probably best. And I did have the pay increase come through, which is excellent. So it'll be an additional $73 per pay period. That'll be nice. So let's go into the first paycheck. And, honestly, I'm all the way through the first paycheck, to be fair, but I just wanted to kind of go over what's going here. So I did receive the payroll. I am going to pull $1,000 from the savings. I'll continue to add the $50 every month, and it'll be cycled between entertainment and gifting because these are the ones that will be coming up sooner rather than later. Gifting with Christmas. And then entertainment with the season tickets for next year. So I just am going ahead and continue to put that $50 into one or those other two. I pulled from healthcare and pet care to put into the debt, and I will not try and focus on any of these sinking funds until the debt's paid. I don't want to extend it the way that I did with the debt I had last fall. I'm going to try and be more focused because I think in the long run it will help me because I'll be paying less interest on that credit card debt. So that's what I'm planning on doing. Of course, I may change my mind because, I know I have a possible dentist visit coming up that could cost several $100s. So maybe it wouldn't be a great idea to pull that $500, but for now, that's what I'm going to do. That's kind of where my head's at. I feel like I should be able to put more than $2,000 in this debt at the end of this pay period. Mainly because I will be pulling $1,000 out of savings and this reimbursement. As I mentioned, that trip is paid for. I paid for it from my checking account, and then whatever was on the credit card has already been paid. So I should have roughly $800 or $900 left over at the end of this pay period, and I think it ends on, let me see what day that is. Wednesday. It ends Wednesday. So yeah, I feel pretty confident that I'll have roughly $800 or $900 left there. In addition to the $878 and the $1,000, should be $2,600, but I just put $2,000 just to err on the side of caution because the way things are going, who the heck knows? The cats do have a vet visit on Monday, so that will come out. I feel like it might be a little bit more than $100, but I'm not sure how much it's going to cost because they have shots and a grooming. So this is probably under. But in any case, I still think that more than $2,000 should be able to go into that debt. And I'll show you what that balance is here in just a second. I keyed in the second part of July, all the normal expenses that will be here, hoping to have roughly $1,000 next pay period. We'll see how, again, it all depends on the tooth and the pet care. So, but I think $1,000 is a reasonable amount. You guys have seen me do this at the end of the month for months and months. So $1,000 is not unusual to throw into the debt at the end of the month. Now this is a little bit unusual because typically I'm real heavy on expenses at the first of the month, but because of these things, that $2,000 is actually doable. Okay, so let's go in and take a look at what's happening in checking. Just generally I've had a few expenses, the normal expenses you would expect to see, the food, the household, utilities, some pet care, but generally nothing that's unusual at this point in the month. I did buy a DLC for a game called RimWorld that just dropped yesterday. It still keeps me under budget for entertainment, so I did not hesitate to get that because I will have hours, if not weeks and months of entertainment from that particular DLC. It's an excellent game, and this DLC is actually pretty amazing. So that's the checking. Again, I have about $2,000 right now. I have one more bill plus the cat's visit. So I expect to have maybe $200 from here. So again, it should be around $800 maybe. Excuse me. 12. So I math, forget it. I'm just not going to do any maths today. No, $1,800. No, $1,200. I don't even know. $1,800. But that also includes the $1,000 from the savings transfer. And here is the credit card. The total bill for everything that they had to do was $7,977. So that puts the credit card balance back up over $8,000, which, guys, it's, it was a blow. But again, if you have a home and you got to make sure you're safe in it. So that's where we're at right now. I did move the $1,000 from the savings. I was pretty excited that I was getting this beefed up. I was actually going to start putting more money into the mortgage this month too. I'm glad I hadn't already set that up, just to start working on some of the other goals that I have for my finances. But again, adjusting as best I can. The only other thing I did here was I kind of penciled in this. I have no idea how much I'm going to be able to put in debt, but This does seem reasonable. I mean, if you think in terms of what I've said, to put in over, $3,000 or more, that seems roughly about right. And when I put this in, this was incorrect. It's considerably more because this included the $1,100 for. So this really was only $5K that I put towards that electric electric electrician bill. So this was less than what it actually ended up being. But still, in the end, I think that I should be able to put $3,000 back into the debt to try and bring that back down. I think that's reasonable. 1,000 here and 2,000 there. So we're just going to have to start all over again. You guys are going to have to watch me struggle through this probably for months again, and then we'll be faced with Christmas, and I'll be trying to figure out how to buy Christmas presents. So that's where we're at. I may do a no spend in August. That was actually pretty helpful doing that. So I'm probably going to put that as a possibility. So what I'll do is I'll put over here and say no spend. Big old question mark. See what happens there. Okay. So again, I'm sure you guys have experienced this too, where you feel like you're making headway and then something comes up. But, I will muddle through it, and hopefully you guys will, help me out by encouraging me every now and then and saying, you got this, you just did this, you can do it again, whatever. That would be nice. But it was a pretty depressing experience to go through this so quickly after I had finished paying off the debt, but here we are. I appreciate you coming in, and the next video should be, let's go into July. We are here today. I don't see any problem with recording next weekend. I don't have any trips planned or anything special going on, so I should be able to record and post this next Saturday. So I will talk to you then.